In this video, we are going to learn about parturition. So, what is parturition? It is the childbirth. Okay. So, parturition is the completion of pregnancy and giving birth to the baby after all the development of the body, and finally a fetus is ready to expel out. That particular process is the parturition or childbirth. Parturition is the completion of pregnancy and giving birth to the baby. What is parturition? It is the completion of pregnancy and giving birth to the baby. The series of events that expels the infant from the uterus is collectively called labor. So what is labor? It is the series of events that expels the infant from the uterus is collectively called the labor. Throughout pregnancy, the uterus undergo periodic episodes of weak and strong contractions. These contractions are called Braxton-Hicks contractions, which leads to false labor. So what is a Braxton-Hicks contraction? Throughout the pregnancy, the uterus undergo periodic episodes of weak and strong contractions. These contractions are called Braxton-Hicks contractions, which leads to false labor. As the pregnancy progresses, increase in the estrogen concentration promotes uterine contractions. So, what is the hormone responsible for uterine contraction? Hormone estrogen. So, as the pregnancy progresses, increase in the estrogen concentration promotes uterine contractions. So, you should think why the uterus have to contract in order to expel the fetus to outside. That's we are learning now what is parturition or childbirth. So why the uterus is contracting or contractions takes place in the uterus in order to push the baby outside. Okay. So as the pregnancy progresses, increase in the estrogen concentration promotes uterine contractions. These uterine contractions facilitate molding of the fetus and downward movement of the fetus. So you should remember once the uterus is started to contract, it will makes the baby to move downward, because in order to push the baby outside, in order to expel the baby outside. So next, the uterine contractions facilitate molding of the fetus and downward movement of the fetus. The descent of the fetus causes dilation of cervix of the uterus and vaginal canal, resulting in neurohumeral reflex called fetal ejection reflex or Ferguson reflex. So you should remember the parts of the female reproductive system: uterus followed by the cervix and the vagina. The baby is formed in the uterus. It should come out through the cervix, through the vagina to outside. Okay, here these uterine contraction facilitate molding of fetus and downward movement of the fetus. The descent of the fetus causes dilation of the cervix of the uterus. In the diagram also you can see the uterus is a wide portion, but the cervix is a narrow canal. Okay, so it should be dilated or enlarged. Okay, so that only the baby can come outside. So here the downward movement of fetus causes the dilation of cervix of the uterus, that is enlargement of cervix of the uterus and vaginal canal, resulting in a neurohumeral reflex called fetal ejection reflex or Ferguson reflex. This initiates the secretion of oxytocin from the neurohypophysis, which in turn brings about the powerful contraction of the uterine muscles and leads to the expulsion of the baby through the birth canal. This sequence of events is called parturition or childbirth. So before we learned, initially the uterine contractions was initiated by one hormone. What is the hormone name? Estrogen. Okay, next is the next one more hormone. What is the name? Oxytocin, from neurohypophysis of the pituitary gland, which in turn brings about the powerful contraction of the uterine muscle. So there should be a, there you may get one question, which hormone is responsible for the powerful contraction of the uterine muscles? Which hormone? Oxytocin. So which will leads to the expulsion of the baby through the birth canal. This sequence of events is called parturition or childbirth. Relaxin is a hormone secreted by the placenta and also found in the corpus luteum. It promotes parturition by relaxing the pelvic joints and by dilation of the cervix and continued powerful contractions. So the powerful contractions was initiated by the oxytocin. Further, one more hormone is responsible. What is the hormone name? Relaxin, which is secreted by the placenta and also found in the corpus luteum. What is the function of this relaxin? It is used for the relaxation of the pelvic joints and by dilatation of the cervix with continued powerful contractions. So this relaxin helps in the dilation of the cervix. You know, cervix is a narrow canal. It should enlarge. Okay, so it helps in the relaxing the pelvic joints and by the dilation of cervix with continued powerful contractions. The amnion ruptures and the amniotic fluid flows out through the vagina followed by the fetus. So you know the fetus is floated inside the amniotic fluid. It is floated inside the amniotic fluid. So the amnion ruptures and the amniotic fluid flows out through the vagina followed by the fetus. The placenta along with the remains of the umbilical cord called after birth is expelled out after delivery. So first which is coming out, the amniotic fluid is coming out through the vagina followed by the fetus. Then the placenta along with the remains of the umbilical cord called after birth is expelled out after delivery.